Okay, welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. And the subject matter tonight is Tyson Fury, the glove gate scenario, Deontay Wilder with Brian Custer. I thought I'd do something very different for the video I'm doing tonight. Often I do these videos and I leave the live chat open and let people come in, have their say, and it's all well and good. People have their opinions. Often people don't want to listen to what I've got to say, but most of the time they come in to have an argument or to throw shade or try to be clever. And as I did with the last video, and I'm doing with this video, particularly what's going on at the moment, I have chosen to do this video without a comment section. So forgive me for that. You can take it up with me after when I do the second part of this video, in which I will post again a live show where I can have the comments coming in the comment section and we can review the things I've said. So first of all, before I begin this video, massive shout out to Brian Custer. For those of you who don't know, I have had Brian Custer on BWTM online, not BWTM Sports. I think I did an hour interview with him. Always been a fan of Brian Custer and his work. And I have had the pleasure of meeting Brian in person. So shout out to Brian, doing a great job, my friend, and my brother. And hello to the family. And also, once again, excellent interview by yourself. One of the best in the business, one of the best in America when it comes to sports entertainment and being a broadcaster or even doing interviews. So congratulations on your show, The Last Stand. Love it, and I definitely be tuning into you to all the work that you do, because you're just a fan. You're phenomenal at what you do. You've got such class about what you do, and you interview, and I love your style, and I'm a huge admirer, as you know. So shout out to you, Mr. Custer. Then I'm going to give a shout out to Deontay Wilder for doing the interview. And people would say, oh, well, he has to do the interview as a fighter. He could have kept quiet. He didn't have to do the interview. The proof in the pudding's in the eating. He's taking the situation to court. So, I mean, he doesn't have to talk about it, but he's chosen to speak out about it. So, where do we start from this? Where do I start with this? I hope you all can hear me. So, as I said, I've got a lot of respect for Brian Custer, and actually have a lot of respect for Deontay Wilder. A man that has honoured his word, said he would fight Luis Ortiz twice, which he did, not once but twice. And Ortiz at the time was the most dangerous fighter, the bogeyman in the division. So in terms of a man honouring his word, a man standing by his word, and a man delivering, for the most part, Deontay Wilder has done that. And he's a man of, as far as I'm concerned, character. Now, Deontay Wilder, despite what many would say, I do question the integrity of the many, would go out of their way to call this man a madman, would go out their way to call this man delusional, disgusting, and all other types of names. They asked, Deontay Wilder is so quiet. Why is he not speaking out? And then he comes out and speaks out, and people are there to laugh at him and make mockery of him. See, he's the crazy one, calling somebody a cheat. Yet the man he's talking about is a man who actually has been banned for boxing or suspended from boxing because of cheating or using banned substances or whatever you want to call it. He was out for 2 years. He wasn't out for boxing because he retired or he was taking a rest. He was banned for a specific reason. Okay? We talk about Jerome Miller and him failing the drug test 3 times, or we throw the book at him and we forget him. Why is it that Alexander Povetkin, again, is still able to go on pay-per-view fights, having been caught 3 times, but we forget about it? Why is it people are not vilifying him, but they're going after our friend Jerome Miller? This is inconsistency in boxing that has never made sense. One of the reasons why Deontay Wilder is disliked by a lot of people is because he speaks his mind. A lot of people I've got a short memory. They raise and they talk about Muhammad Ali. They talk about Mike Tyson. These are 2 icons in boxing. And one of the reasons why they were so iconic was not just what they did inside the ring as fighters, but the way they spoke outside the ring. These guys spoke up, more so Ali, on the political side of things. And if you look at Ali back then, look at the people that were vilifying and making Ali look out to be this and that when he didn't want to fight because he said in Vietnam they caused him no harm. Why would he go and fight in Vietnam? But you all would think you'd worship Muhammad Ali today. If Muhammad Ali was here today, you would disrespect him and dishonor him as you are doing with Deontay Wilder today. There are not many sportsmen today who are prepared to open their mouth and speak the way that Deontay Wilder does. He loves himself. And an outspoken black man in America that isn't tap dancing and isn't doing what people would like to see him do, that is not what people want to see. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. They never liked the fact that Wilder was knocking guys out left, right, and center. No. Yeah, look, do your boxing. Just keep it quiet. Where people turn around and talk about till this day, and they laugh about it, or they make it's gone viral because of what's going on in the world today. Wilder is quite honest and open to talk about what's going on in the world with police brutality. I'm getting around to the interview, but I'm making points here as they come to my mind. When you talk about knockouts and one-punch knockout KOs and entertainment and excitement, there is really only one man in world boxing that gives you one-punch devastating knockouts who can turn your lights out like that, guaranteed. We had guys like Julian Jackson and the great Golovkin that everyone talks about, who's this huge puncher, is I was just talking, I got distracted. When guys like Julian Jackson knocking guys out one shot, and Gerald McClellan, and Tommy Hearns knocking out world-class fighters, and you get guys like Golovkin rated as huge, big punchers, but don't knock anybody out of world class. It makes you wonder the praise that is given, but yet someone like Deontay Wilder is not given his credit for knocking out top-class fighters. But anyway, we'll put that to one side. Now, before even this interview came about, one of the telltale signs when I did the last video for me was, all right, you're calling Deontay Wilder a madman, a liar, the contract expired. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the contract expired, knock it on the head. Yeah? Okay. If that's the case, I ask the question, why is it that you're not allowed to go ahead, Tyson Fury, and have you fight with Ajit Kabayel? Why? Why can't you just go out and fight? Such a big thing. Fury must fight at the end of the year. Fury's got to keep himself in shape and he's got to fight by the end of the year. Why was the rush? Why was the rush? Why did you do that? When you damn well knew, or there was a contract in place, or there was something in place legally that stopped you from doing that. But people believed you. People believed you. People believed the fact that we were going to have this fight on December the 5th. We talked about Carlos Takam and Cabayal and the possibility of Lucas Brown, maybe. Even Dave Allen was talking about getting a title shot. Dillian White was being thrown into the mix. Now what? No fight. Cancelled. And if that doesn't bring alarm bells to you, that both Aaron and Warren, two of the top promoters in the world, couldn't push a fight through with Tyson Fury and Ajit Kabayel, what does that tell you? That this madman Wilder, this delusional guy Wilder, the contract expired. Well, if the contract expired, why are you not fighting December 5th? Tyson Fury said, knock it on the head. The champ has spoken. Why didn't you knock it on the head? Doesn't make any sense to me. But we'll leave that right there. So, Wilder in that interview did not come across like a madman. Okay? What he never mentioned much about court, which would concern me. Because he sounded to me like a guy who was pretty sane. But he seemed like media is very powerful. Okay? And I work in media. Media is very powerful, right? And at the end of the day, well, I want to say I work in media, more like I understand how media works. These promoters have, for the most part, media in their pockets. So they can make you out to be a hero and they can make you out to be a villain. They can make you almost out to, you can forget about what a fighter's done in the past by just paving over the cracks. Certain boxing outlets or outlets in general are paid for, sponsored by the promoter, which means they will spew out any amount of rubbish that promoter wants. These people are not independents. These people are dependents, dependent on the promoter. If the promoter says no, they cannot conduct certain interviews and cannot do certain things. Okay? So I've said this 1,001 times, right? There's a lot of things I've said here that if you listen to that interview with Deontay Wilder, the things he was saying, in fact, not just Deontay Wilder, other pro trainers, world-class trainer, elite trainers, fighters have come in on this channel and I've started a conversation and they've finished off my words. So I'm no longer gonna sit on this channel now and just listen to the rubbish that gets brought onto the channel and from some of you, just repeating the garbage that comes from some of these media outlets that have got absolutely no integrity whatsoever. They're not independents. If you give them free passes to interview their heroes, right, they will, and as long as the promoter is putting money in their back pocket, they will spin any line possible, right? And you already know, for example, that on a Saturday night we have to turn the volume down because there's so much biasness on certain TV networks that No names have to be mentioned. You know yourselves. You turn the volume down because the biasness is ridiculous. Up to the point the other day, they even came out and said that Katie Taylor is pound for pound the best woman fighter in the world. How the hell did they get to that point? Where TYSON whooped, as far as I'm concerned, gave her a whooping. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm going off track. But we know that media outlets, for the most part, have been bought, and they have to follow the rules of the promoter. Okay, so if you take that into consideration, and you take into consideration the amount of people that watch these channels or watch these media outlets, and these guys that have got the names behind them that work for lamestream media, they're not mainstream media to me, they're lamestream media. Okay, if you can sleep at night with integrity, or your conscience with you, reporting on stuff that either you don't have facts on, or pushing an agenda because a promoter wants to promote their fighter, or you're in the pocket of a promoter because they're paying for your travel expenses or your lunch fees, or for you to travel and do interviews. At the end of the day, your job is to report the news unbiasedly, to give a balanced view. That's your responsibility. And if you're not doing that, then you're a puppet. That means that you are unable to report news in a fair and balanced manner. That's what your job is to do, to give the news. But these outlets cannot be trusted. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people who cannot think for themselves and are spoon-fed. So you're spoon-fed information. It means, here's the information, put it in your mouth. And you go, yes, sir, you're right. And you've got a lot of people like that. And a lot of them come through on this channel, and they just often, here's some more BS for you. Here's more BS and some more. Yeah, that's right. That's true. And they haven't got the ability to have critical thinking, or the ability to question. Like, he said that. He said that. Like, again, I go slightly off topic. Right. I like Conor Benn. This is not disrespect to Conor Benn, but his promoter said he's a world-class welterweight. Wait, when did he become a world-class welterweight? In the gym, working out. You don't fight anybody in the top 10. You've gone nowhere near remotely near the top 10, but you are a world-class welterweight. Well, how did that happen? I've seen him do amazing things in the gym? Okay, yeah, he might be training well and making improvements. You ain't fought no one. How can you be a world-class welterweight? And the fans are sucking that up. They'll get disappointed. They will be disappointed, because you do not become a world-class welterweight by just staying in the gym working out and not fighting anybody. And the last time you fought a guy that started throwing punches back at you, almost lost the fight. And he wasn't even a guy that he was meant to be a knockover job. I'm not knocking Conor Benn. I like Conor Benn, and I wish him the very best in his career. He's got a tough ask, following in his father's footsteps. But he is Conor Benn, and I respect any man who puts a pair of gloves on. All right. So, okay. So let's go back to this wild interview. What I'm basically saying, to build this up before I get to throw my points over, I'm not really gonna I'm not being disrespectful into it tonight, but I'm not really entertaining any comments. Okay, I will do a second video to this afterwards, where I'll do a live show. I'm not entertaining comments tonight. I want to stay very focused on what I'm going to say tonight. All right, I want to be clear, crystal clear about what I say tonight, and very clear about where I stand on things. All right, and I feel like as a channel, and as a person that a lot of people listen to, there's a responsibility for people to say, well, where do you stand on this? I'm going to let you know where I stand on it, without any sort of this BS being that's been spoon fed to a lot of you, brought back to me. I don't want to hear it tonight. And for you, some of you here are very respectful and know what you're talking about, and shout out to you. Just bear with me on this one tonight, okay? So, when I come into this interview, I'm not looking at Deontay Wilder as a crazy man or a madman, because a couple of guys who've had boxing careers, who are now pundits, are coming out and saying it. Who, by the way, are working for a company who Wilder's rival is, and his promoters got his hands in. So the bias comes out there. Or another rival promotion, who's got a network that can't stand Wilder, that are gonna throw rubbish. So you got two rivals. You got Joshua's people. You got Fury's people. None of them want to say anything great about Wilder. We've told you since what that Barry Hearn sat down by the river or by a lake and told us quite clearly he didn't want to fight Wilder versus Joshua till 2021. Why people still go on about Wilder ducking Joshua is unbelievable to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. Again, that's that BS that people take on, don't think about things logically, business wise. They don't think about it. They say, yeah, this is BS, and I'm going to repeat that BS. They just don't think about it. Even when video evidence is put in front of their faces, they can't see it because BS is in their head. And you just know them, because when they start talking, you know where it's come from. All right? So bear this in mind. You've got Joshua's camp, you've got Fury's camp. Both of them are not going to have positive things about Deontay Wilder. Hell no, they're not. And when I say camp, I don't mean just their particular camp. I'm talking about rival networks where you've got ESPN and then you've got Sky Sports. So anybody who's associated with them can easily come out and say, we must denounce Deontay Wilder. Let's denounce him. Let's not have anything that's positive to say about him. Here's the opportunity to really dig him and bury him and finish him off. Yeah, the promoter come out and said, oh, we'll never see Deontay Wilder fight again. The same promoter that turned around and told us that Wilder and Fury weren't going to fight the day of the fight. Why would anyone want to listen to you? Why the hell does anyone want to listen to you? Yeah, I saw some garbage today on Twitter. We say, oh yeah, he's such a great promoter because he helped somebody out pay their insurance. That's a very nice, good deed. But when Floyd Mayweather does the same thing and he feeds thousands of people that haven't got food, and he helps them out there, and lots of kids and stuff like that, people don't look at that because it's Floyd Mayweather, because he's a braggart and he's a showman. No, it doesn't matter with Floyd. But if a promoter does it, and he's not of the same tone of Floyd Mayweather, he's white, so he's right. This happens in boxing. Wilder came out and talked about racism in boxing. It is there, it's clear to see, and if you can't see it, it's because you don't want to see it. Let's get clear about some things. If you don't want to see it, you won't see it. And if you don't feel it, that you don't care for it until it comes on your doorstep. But that's what it is, and that's what we're dealing with. So when you come into the interview to listen to Brian Custer and listen to Deontay Wilder, I'm not coming in and listening to him saying, yeah, he's a madman, he's crazy. Let's hear what this madman's got to say. Because once you've got your mindset like that, before you even come in to listen to an interview, they've already got you. They've already got you. Listening to these promoters. So let me hear what this guy's got to say. Wilder to me comes across as a very level-headed guy, right? So, first of all, let's put some things together. The guy that's told us, let's knock it on the head, Wilder's this, that, and the other. Well, the substance of what you said is, well, in that case, the contract's expired. Let's knock it on the head. You should be fighting December 5th. You're not. Wilder's this, Wilder's that. Why is it? Well, didn't you get banned from boxing for 2 years? Yeah. What for? Why? When everyone keeps that kind of quiet and hush hush. So it's not possible. It's impossible that this guy who was banned from boxing could potentially cheat. No, it couldn't happen. But Wilder's a madman. So anyway, listen to the interview. So I was one of those people that said, from way back in the day, that Wilder needs to change his team. Way back in the day, I was one of them guys that said Wilder should change his team. And if you remember rightly, I did the show here. You were listening in, who were listening in. And I said, and people argue me down, I've had top trainers argue me down about it. Wilder said, do not stop this fight. Do not stop this fight. I've never been in Wilder's camp. He said, do not stop this fight. And Deontay Wilder said, more or less, the words that I said, he went back and said in that interview, said, well, look, I'm the boss. I call the shots. You don't call the shots. I call the shots. I told you, don't stop this fight. I can't be talking about trying to catch a case or trying to turn around and want to take a body or take a life. And I'm talking that stuff, and I'm not a bit about it myself. So he's basically saying to you here, I'm about that life. This is who I am. I don't care about anybody else. I don't care about anyone else's camp. I'm your boss. You can't override what I say. This is what I want. This is what I desire. This is what I care for. This is me. I don't care what every trainer thinks or believes. And I believe in my power and I believe in myself. Even in the last second, I believe in myself. So he turns and says he sacks his trainer. He knows his team. He said he even had a go at Jay Diaz about it. So he said, so he stuck with Jay Diaz. But now he's got rid of Mark Breland. So, like I said previously, it's not about what everybody else thinks. Not everybody else is Deontay Wilder. It's what Wilder wants. You can agree with him, you can disagree with him. But the fact that he got beat and was in a position that he felt, well, you know what, I've still got power here. That was taken away from him by Mark Breland. Now, you might not understand the logic of that. I understand the logic of that. I always understood the logic of that. Because it's like, I believe in myself so much, that in my power so much, that even if I'm out on my feet, I can still knock you out. Julian Jackson, he had one eye closed. The guy was blind. That's why the fight didn't happen in England. His eye was blind. He was getting battered by Harold Graham. But you knew he was one punch away. He landed that one punch. He landed that one punch and laid Harold Graham out cold. And he was blind. He was medically registered blind in the UK. That's why they couldn't have the fight. You had to remember the big shades he had? And he had to go fight. They had to fight somewhere, even the Bahamas or some random place they went to. Some random place they went to. Right? And he knocked him out cold. But I don't hear nobody talk about the fact that Julian Jackson was doing, and he was a blind man, got in that ring more or less, and fought Harold Graham. Promoters don't mention that, but they didn't have to fight in the UK. Right? But Julian Jackson went in the ring almost a blind man. But he had TNT in both fists. And he was able to take out Harold Graham in the end. When he was getting battered, go back and look at the tape. That was a guy who was blind. So anyway, he sacks Mark Breland. And he's suggesting that Mark Breland spiked his water. Now, if you remember rightly, I spoke about how I felt that Stavern was drugged. And people still look at me and think I'm a crazy man. But I can tell you for a fact, going back, by the way, I repeat for the third time, I will not be responding to any comments in here tonight. So keep typing, no responses coming from me. Shout out to Coach Chris, by the way. I spoke about this when the great Larry Holmes, was in the audience, and I knew this because I was on a podcast that the great Larry Holmes actually was on. It was the Mittman show, and it was myself, Larry Holmes was on the show, Steve and Mike Nittman. If you ever get a chance, go back and check it out. So that was when Stavern fought Wilder, the first fight. And Larry Holmes is in the audience, who sat right next to Don King. And in the second round of the fight between Stavern and Wilder, Larry Holmes points across Stavern and he goes, "That guy's dehydrated. Get him some water now." Again, I repeat, I will not be responding to comments tonight. So please text, but I will type all the text your messages you want. I will not be responding to messages tonight. So if I could somehow block these messages, I would. I'm just not really interested in talking to anybody tonight. I'm just going to make my points through tonight. So Larry Holmes dehydrated in the second round of that fight. So now we have Deontay Wilder say when he came to the ring, he was tired coming to the ring. And he even gave examples of, look, I know what I feel like when I've had sex and then I've played basketball and there's this. Then there was a story about the costume. That was some propaganda that was put out there. That was some straight up BS to make Wilder look like an idiot. That is straight up BS. How can a man like him, or a world heavyweight champion, not wear the costume the night before, test the costume out, and then come to the ring and then wear a costume so heavy like that on the biggest fight of your career? Nah, that don't make no sense. And when you talk about drugs, again, when you ask the question, didn't Anthony Joshua, when he came out to fight Ruiz, he didn't look right either? He didn't look right either. He was sitting on the side like this, and he was, he's turned his head like this and doing this stuff. Joshua didn't look right either. Right? Didn't look right either. Didn't look right either. So this thing about Wilder being drugged, it so comes out that he's saying it was a muscle relaxer. This is why I understand what I've been hearing. It's a muscle relaxer. Now, if he did have a muscle relaxer, and that was put in his water, because how do you know it was a muscle relaxer that caused you to respond the way you did? Go back and listen to my commentary. First round, Deontay Wilder doesn't look right. I've never seen Deontay Wilder in a fight looking tired the way he was. He's usually a very fit, athletic type of guy. He's never one blowing. He looked exhausted. Looked tired from the first round. You got to know, you got a history of how this guy fights. And he suddenly turns up in the ring and he looks blowing, he's tired. And come on. Come on. Just go back and look at the fight. And he's blinking and wiping his eyes. Come on, man. When have you seen Deontay Wilder do that? Look at him when he had the Brazil fight. Look at him when he had the Ortiz fight, the two Ortiz fights. Don't tell me any garbage about he was scared of Fury. Come on. He was scared of Fury? Well, what would have made him scared of Fury? I don't buy this sort of excuses. Rubbish, garbage excuses, no logic behind them. So again, we talk about the gloves and the stuff that happened to the gloves. While people may mock it and say, what Wilder's talking is rubbish, nobody actually comes up with a logical, says, you know what? And can explain as to why the glove was operating or the way it was, right? However, I will say this much. It's not the first time there's been a situation with Fury's gloves. If we go back and even look at the Christian Hammer fight, the referee pulled him up about his glove there as well. Look, it's there. He pulled him up about the glove and look at the glove as well. Then we have that guy who comes out from the gym talking about the glove again. Like, these stories keep coming out from a guy who's already been banned from boxing. I mean, look, just because I like a fighter, or just because I like a personality, or I like what a guy's done in the sport, it doesn't mean that they are exempt from criticism. Right? And you try and be fair and balanced. Just because I've had Fury in my channel, it doesn't necessarily mean because I've had Fury in my channel that I should say, yeah, well, I've had him in my channel, so if anything logical comes up and Fury's been on my channel, then I should really speak out about it because he's been on my channel. It doesn't work like that. Then I would be not an independent. I would be then being influenced the basis of my, oh, I've got a good relationship with him, I've done an interview with him. And it doesn't work that way. In a room with a judge, the judge is making a decision. He's not going to say, well, I used to watch Tyson Fury, so I'm a fan of Tyson Fury. I like the way he fights. So I like Deontay. I like the way he fights. Yeah. You can't be judging things based on your feelings. You got to judge things based on facts. Now, if there's been a toxicology report, right? Toxicology means if they have tested his blood and his urine sample, if there's been a test, because I've heard nothing back from the test from the Wilder Fury fight, the second fight, if there's been a test and that test comes back where he's had muscle relaxant in the urine or in his blood, something isn't right. Something isn't right. So he talks about firing his trainer and why he fired his trainer. And he talks about Jay Diaz as well. Again, on this channel, Derek James, after the Ruiz knockout, Derek James, the trainer of Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, came on this channel and told us he would like to work with Deontay Wilder and remodel Deontay Wilder. Three of the trainers' names that were mentioned: Floyd Mayweather, George Foreman, and Derek James. Surprise, surprise, surprise. First of all, Floyd Mayweather. Deontay says, nah, that guy don't like me. He's never had anything positive to say about me. Why would I want him as my trainer? So there's integrity there. Why would he want, this guy has been slating me for all my career. Why would I now want him as my trainer? So that's all paper talk. And why would I want him? He's hogging the limelight. It wouldn't be about my career. It'd be about someone else's career. Nah, he don't fix. Then again, on this channel, I said after Wilder lost his fight, I said the best two people that Wilder can talk to after his defeat is George Foreman and probably Thomas Hearns. He went and talked to Big George straight afterwards. You see, the old time fighters know all the old time tricks. They know all the tricks. They all the sly moves, the dirty part of boxing. And Wilder came out and told you straight, the sport is full of thieves, crooks. The sport's a racist sport. He's telling you, straight out telling you, what the game is about. Straight out telling you what the game is about. And he seemed to tell you, look, why would I need to come out and lie? For what reason? He did not sound to me like a guy with sour grapes. He sounded to me like a guy who's got a lot to say, but because of the media and because of everyone not giving him a chance to speak, it's all right. You know what? You wanted to hear what I had to say. I was busy, was quiet, keep myself to myself. You want to hear what I got to say. When I actually do speak out, you're there to tell me, keep quiet. So, do you know, the only person, as I said before, the only person that matters now is that judge. Never mind boxing fans, never mind boxing pundits, never mind boxing trainers. This shit has to go to court. And now it's in court. And it's funny. Isn't it funny, yeah? The WBC, all this time of Dillian White, people saying 1,000 days, it became almost a joke. It is funny. As soon as White decided to go to court, the WBC suddenly, yeah, okay, White, as soon as if he beats Povetkin, the next fight will be for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. It must be. So why couldn't you have done that before? Why did Dillian White have to take you to court for that to happen? And again, those same people right on this channel were saying Dillian White is wasting his time. So you know, people don't know anything about business and don't know anything about legal. They talk legal, they don't know. They're talking out their ass. So what happened there? Where are you people that said, "Oh, Dillian White shouldn't go and get his legal team for the WBC"? What happened now? What happened? Okay, White got knocked out. This is beside the point, but he still got his mandatory, and he would have got his shot against Tyson Fury had he played his cards right and done the right things. Interesting. They were going ahead with that December 5th fight, and they were laughing at Deontay Wilder. Now, all of a sudden, that fight's been pulled. Guess what? What's the promoter talking about now? Tyson Fury's next fight will be in the USA, and there's possibly a Wilder fight. Now, it's interesting. Throughout all of that, he never talked about fighting Fury again. He talked about Dillian White. He talked about Andy Ruiz. He talked about Robert Helenius. He even talked about why he wanted to fight Robert Helenius. He talked about for height. Why would you want to fight a guy for height? Unless there's another Fury fight, there's a possibility of a Fury fight. Now, if Tyson Fury, as he was talking about, he's going to leave you alone. If a man's slandering you, fights in America, you're going to court, you're being brought to court. If it's for defamation and it's slander, well, let's see Fury take that same tone he's taken and go to court and go try and see if Wilder's slandering him. Why are you letting it all slide, Tyson? Why are you letting it all slide? Like you're innocent, and it's like, oh, holier than thou. It's okay. I'm just gonna let it slide. Good way to make money in it, Tyson. Make some quick money there. I mean, you now lost out on a fight with Caballero to make some money. You could take Wilder to court, and all these accusations Wilder's making, take it to court, and you can win some good money. Damages, yeah, good damages you can make. Get a good team together, like Dillian White did. Take Wilder to court and counter sue damages for ruining your reputation. That's what Fury's got to do. Can't let this slide, bro. Take it to court. But what happens is, just like Mark Breland, he's another one. He has to take it to court as well. Now, if Wilder is suggesting that Breland did spike his water, where is his evidence? Where is his evidence? Nah, I don't believe he's walked away from. I don't believe he's walked away from no rematch. He already talked about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You know, he's got to be careful what he says in the interview now, because obviously it's in court. So I don't believe he's walked away from no rematch. No, he's called Fury a coward. Right? So we have to wait and see where this is going. Look, ultimately, I don't know what's all gone on. Something isn't right. Wilder wasn't right going into that fight. I said that Wilder didn't look right from round one. Go back and listen to the commentary. But at the same time, I also said what Fury looked very good. I was surprised in round one how the punching power of Fury had increased. You know, he was able to significantly hurt Wilder more than in the first fight. But if a guy's got muscle relaxant in his body, so question is, how did Wilder know that he had muscle relaxant in his body? Where did that come from? unless there's been a toxicology report. How do you know Breland spiked his water? And he said, this isn't the first time. And like I said to you all here before, this wasn't the first time I believe that Breland must have got out of hand. This is not the first time that Breland and Wilder had issues. Now, taking that out of the arena for a second, we did an interview with the legendary Junior Poison Jones. Okay, we spoke with him, and he's close to Mark Breland, but he says that Wilder didn't want to listen to Breland. He said that Wilder don't listen, and he's a man who wants to do his own thing. So he said Mark tried to talk to him, but Wilder didn't want to listen. That's something else to be brought up as well, to be considered. I noticed he talked about Derek James, and he said, you know what, Derek James, I've got a lot of love for that brother. Derek James would be, and I suggested Derek James would be an excellent trainer for Deontay Wilder. He'd be an excellent trainer. Has he left it too late to go to Derek James? I don't know. I don't know if he's left it too late, but it will be interesting. See now, we go a little more into Wilder, what he was talking about. He was talking about the fight, about his career. He talked about how the thing where he says Bomb Squad and all that stuff. He says the only reason he does that is to promote fights. So he's saying to you, look, when I'm in the ring or when I'm in the sport of boxing and I'm in the public eye, that's my personality for that. Right? I know that Wilder is a very motivational or inspirational character because I know the sort of people who've been around Wilder. You had MVP, the motivational speaker. If you go back before the first Deverne fight, Evan, you go back and look at that. In fact, MVP was on this channel. Or not this channel. He was on the BWTM online channel. I did an interview with him. He was the motivational speaker, and he actually is I think he's a pastor now, and he might even be Deontay Wilder's pastor. So I know that there's a lot of stuff going on there with Deontay Wilder outside of boxing or outside the view of the public. So that is of no surprise to me either. He's even talking about how fighters should invest their money and giving advice to fighters. He says, I'm well respected. He talked about Teofimo Lopez calling him what he did out of his name. He says, everyone can say what they say on the internet until they have to see me. And then it's a different situation. I'm very respected. Now, it's okay to laugh at somebody and to joke with somebody until that same thing happens to you. When you get accused of something and don't get a fair point, it's like almost in your workplace, there is a protocol. I can't just fire you just like that. There's got to be maybe a warning, a file a warning, and dismissal, or if there's a complaints procedure, right? If you were not given that ability to complain, or you weren't allowed to use a complaints procedure, you'd be furious at your workplace. You'd be furious. My thoughts are this. I'm glad now Wilder hasn't taken. He's spoken some stuff on social media, but I'm glad he's taken it to court. Whatever Wilder submitted in court has had a knock-on effect in the UK. Whatever Wilder submitted. Now, I hear the judge's decision will be next week. I don't know what the decision is on, but I believe the decision is to do with getting Fury and Wilder to fight for a third time. Now, I heard a story. I don't know how true this story is, and I hope it's not true. I really hope it's not true. But I heard that Fury won't fight Wilder again, but will vacate the belt. Which would tie into his I will never fight that man again. It's nice script in it. I'll never fight him again, vacate my belt, and then go and fight Anthony Joshua. And the fans would say, here comes the line, well, you've beaten Wilder twice already, why do you need to fight him a third time? Move on, I'll go and fight Anthony Joshua. So, don't know. There's some people that would say that the December 5th fight was never going to happen. It was just something to keep the fans going, because all they really want to do is to keep this all going. This fight gets cancelled, but what they really want is Wilder versus Fury 3 next year, when all the ticket sales and the fans are going back into the arena. It's not bad. Not bad. In fact, it's a damn good bit of propaganda if it's the case that, you know what, make up some crap about Fury and the glove gate to set up for a third fight. It's damn good propaganda. I mean, this is real WWE stuff. I'm telling you, because I'll tell you, the gates, that'll be a sold out arena for the third fight, based on all this stuff that's going on now, all the drama with the court case, and Wilder saying that Fury cheated, and Fury is on growth hormones, and Fury did this and Fury did that. It builds nicely. It certainly builds nicely for a third fight. My conclusion in listening to Deontay Wilder and Brian Custer: ultimately, everyone deserves freedom of speech. And if somebody has got a complaint or has got a grievance, you need to go to relevant parties about it. But you see, the sport is corrupt, and it needs an independent body. Because we don't have an independent body, and we have to go to crooks, thieves, and underhanded, backstabbing characters, you might not get, and racists, you might not get heard the way you should get heard. So you have to go legal. And that's the best thing Deontay Wilder's done. And I believe that there's a hell load more of evidence that he hasn't even spoken about. You notice when he talked about bringing in talked about bringing in 2 new trainers, but he was going to keep that to his chest. He's letting you know he's got somebody in mind as a trainer, but he's keeping it to his chest. Interesting. And I believe, from the way that man speaks, it's led me to believe he's got a ton of evidence that's getting brought up in court. And if he has, and it's it's documented, and it's the way that I think it's going to be put out, it could rock the boxing world for sure. What do you think of Wilder's approach, i.e. making boxing Instagram videos? What do I think about it? I think that all that matters now is it's in the court room with the judge. That's all that matters. It don't matter what I say. It don't matter what you say. It don't matter what you think. It don't matter what I think. All that matters now is in the courtroom with a judge. That's, to me, I want to hear what that judge has got to say. Yeah, being public enemy number one. But why is he public enemy number one? Why is he public enemy number one? Who's reporting that Wilder's public enemy number one? The lamestream media. I've told you before. Those who control the media control the minds. So you go to your lamestream media that these thieves and these crooks and these racists, hell yeah, they control a lot of this media from the top end. See, when you think you've got a choice, it's only a few people that control mainstream media or lamestream media. Only a few. And then the rest just filters down. It doesn't matter what you think about whether you think Wilder is talking rubbish. It doesn't matter what you think. If you don't think Fury cheated, it doesn't matter. It really didn't matter for those 2 years when Fury was banned from boxing. It didn't matter what you thought. It really didn't matter because there was a verdict. And it doesn't matter what you think now because it's with the judge. It don't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think. And I'm glad it's with the judge because ultimately, Wilder is, and I hope the judge is a fair judge, that he isn't corruptible. He's a fair judge and the evidence is there and it's compelling evidence and it's really hard evidence that there is no doubt. Listen, if the toxicology report comes back and says he had muscle relaxing in his body, what are you going to tell? What are you going to say? Oh, it wasn't real. If the judge comes back and says, yeah, well, we found this in the report, and what happens if Wilder is telling the truth? I noticed, David Hay, if you go back and look at that interview they did with David Hay recently, and they asked David Hay the question, David, what do you think about what Wilder had to say? David didn't turn around and call Wilder mad or crazy. Did you notice how David sort of skipped over the subject? You notice how David didn't jump at it? Very interesting. I tell you something, if this court case doesn't go in Fury's favour, right? Because it has to go in Fury's favour to be cleared. If this court case doesn't go, and it's in America now, it's not in England, it's in America. If this court case doesn't go in Fury's favour, if it doesn't go in Fury's favour, then he may be forced into that third fight with Wilder. But the fact that they pulled out of that December 15 is either one of two things. It's all been a setup, and that fight was never going to happen. And the whole story of Wilder is a whole load of BS and it's propaganda. Or two, that contract isn't so expired. And now they're talking about Wilder Fury 3 and Fury's next fight being in the USA. Is taking it to court a risk to Wilder in the sense that if he loses the case, he could be ridiculed more? Well, if he didn't have a valid, let's pick sense from nonsense here. If he didn't have a valid claim, why is the fight not happening December 5th? Pick sense from nonsense. If he didn't have a valid claim, why is the fight not happening December 5th? If it's so, if what Wilder's saying about this is what we're talking about ridicule. Where's your basis of the ridicule? Are you based off the lamestream media that you've been reading stuff from? Where are you getting information from? And who's the agenda? What's the agenda behind what you're reading? You see, literally, I've just spent a whole hour talking about lamestream media. And we're still on this tone about Wilder being ridiculed. But why would he be getting ridiculed? Why would he be? Who's causing? Who's saying? Who is the people that are saying to ridicule Wilder or to denounce Wilder? Who are these people? What's their agendas? Why are they ridiculing him? Don't see any reason to ridicule him. Who are these people? And what's their agenda? So just, yeah, Wilder's an idiot. Why is he an idiot? Because he's saying he needs to be. See, if you don't see, the thing is, for a lot of you, if you don't know where your history is, if you don't know your history, then you don't know where you're going. So you got to know your history first. And do you understand that this sport of boxing has always been corrupt? There's always been cheats in the sport of boxing. There's always been dirty and underhanded things on people's gloves to make people. Remember when Ali? I couldn't remember who Muhammad Ali fought, but when Ali fought, his eyes were burning in the ring because they put stuff lint on the glove for Ali's eyes to burn, so he couldn't win the fight. That's happened in boxing. We've basically had Margarito. He had the plaster of Paris in his hands and punching Cotto up. Right? We've seen these things. Johnny Nelson. But look, again, it's like I'm repeating myself. But I'm just... Thank you all so much for watching the show. Really appreciate you and your thoughts and your comments. But I'm now repeating myself. Ultimately, be careful of who you're listening to your information from. You know, there's a lot of biasness in the sport. A lot of biasness in the sport. Sonny Liston, there we go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, there's loads of incidents. Just go on YouTube, the top 10 cheating incidents in boxing. Educate yourselves. Right? I'll just take my word for it. Go and do some research. And then ask yourself the question, is it possible that he could have cheated? Bearing in mind, Fury's served 2-year ban in boxing. 2 years banned from boxing. And you wouldn't think twice to say, hold on. This guy, it's like, for example, a guy who's, you know, when the police are doing like we've got repeat offenders, when the police are doing investigations, sometimes they go like in an area and there's been break-ins, like a person who may have done break-ins before, they may go back and go to a person that's done break-ins before in the area. And why they do that? Because they ask if there's a repeat offender. If you've had a habit of cheating before, there's every possibility you cheat again. But maybe you might have rehabilitated. Maybe you won't cheat anymore. But we still got to find out if you have. Like Dillian White. After Dillian White got popped for being dirty, right? And that was something he did over the counter. He wasn't aware of it. People up to this day are still talking about that. That second, okay, Leof says this. Let me just add this in quickly. Leof says that second Wilder feud bout is out there for us all to watch and see the glove and Wilder state. The feud can't get that pulled down. Coach Chris jumps in. Wilder literally does nothing but box and chill with his family. Other than that, he's worked a regular job. That's it. I know. Take your time, do your research, and say, is there a possibility that this guy could have cheated again? He's got banned from boxing for PEDs. Could he possibly have done it again? Could he have cheated? Or was he just put on holiday? No, he was banned. Why? All I'm asking is why. And then here's Wilder, who's never served a ban in boxing. Never served a ban in boxing. Never. For PEDs ever in his career. But somehow, he's the crazy guy. So that's it. If you're ridiculing a man, why are you ridiculing him? And I just find it Amazing. You can still ridicule a man, but yet the people behind the man that's being defended at the moment can't even get him to fight for a supposed expired contract. Johnny Nelson said Wilder's gonna retire. He don't want the fight. He's holding up undisputed. He's a madman. He's lying. Disgraceful behaviour from Sky Sports pundit. Isn't this the same Sky Sports pundit that has apologised on more than one occasion? He usually apologising to Alexander Povetkin. Again, when your brain is switched on a certain way, locked in a certain way, you think a certain way. You see, guys ain't ready for real media. You like lamestream media, then you may come up with lame comments. Ah, gosh. Thing with Wilder, he's making excuses for years after bad performances. Okay. And can you give me a one performance where Tyson Fury's looked devastating apart from that fight with Wilder? One performance? Okay, can you name me one fight that's the best I've ever seen Tyson Fury fight? He looked brilliant that night against Wilder. He really did. Looked awesome. Best I've ever seen in box. Best. But James, let me ask you one question. What the hell has Wilder's make excuses for years? Excuses for what? He's been knocking guys out cold, flat, out. What do you mean he's been making excuses about what? He's knocking guys out. He's been knocking guys out cold. What are you talking about? Yeah, but he's always had injuries. Wilder's always had injuries. Let me tease him about boxing and big punches, yeah? Guys who got... Have you seen how Wilder punches? Do you understand sports science? Let me educate you a second. When Wilder hits you, guys like Wilder, who are massive punchers like that, when they punch, they put everything in their punch. So, of course, you're going to get bicep tears, my friend. It's got nothing to do... That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Have you ever taken part in any sport before? If somebody gets a bicep tear, that's not an excuse. That's a fact. He's had injuries with his shoulder before. But if you look at Keith Thurman's another one of these guys. How these guys move like him, they're explosive fighters. When they use all that, and they're more liable to get injuries because those parts of the body, no matter how much muscle you try and put on it, you're gonna get injured because it's a vulnerable part of the body. The body's not made to be the way Wilder's doing, throwing those big heavy shots at men 30, 40, 50 pounds heavier than him, and he's hitting a heavy bag. He's doing it over and over again. That's called wear and tear, my friend. Wear and tear. That's not an excuse, bro. My word. God, some people. I will say it now. Fury's the biggest fraud in boxing. He only cheats in big fights, then fights bums. Okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. They indeed are the new headphones, my friend, but I don't know if the microphone's working on it. But yeah, so how is an injury an excuse? Wilder's been injured throughout his career. He's had injuries throughout his career. He's still knocking people out, though. Still knocking people out. So, bro, that don't hold up weight. And my friend, that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop the judge making a decision, right? So to me, that don't sound to me like it's logical. Sounds to me, mate, that you work with the lamestream media. That's what it sounds like to me, Mr. James Davis. So it looks like you're part of the propaganda machine, you know. But I don't hear you making any coming back with me about that. Let's talk a bit more, Mr. James. Come back, don't disappear. So he's not the only one that injuries. There are a lot of people get injuries in sport. It's not an excuse. It is what it is. It's a bicep tear. Lomachenko did get injured the other day with his shoulder, right? And that's after he lost. Is that an excuse for Lomachenko when he got injured? Dillian White, we knew had a shoulder injury before he went into this fight. He still came back, and he still came back afterwards. He had a shoulder injury going into fight with Anthony Joshua. What are you going to talk about that? Huh? What's the excuse to that one? People get injuries in the fight game. People get injuries in a fight game. People get injuries, period. An injury is an excuse. It's not an excuse. And if you look at Deontay Wilder, you look at his arm, you can see where he's had incisions and he's been cut. You can look at him, you look at his arm, you can see where he's had incisions. Almost got stopped by Otto Walling, the same man who walked down Wilder in February, was life and death bleeding from an nasty cut 5 months prior. Which top class fighter did Wilder knock out? You know what? Lamestream media will spoon feed you. You go do your research, friend. You go do your research. I'll tell you one name I'll give you, Luis Ortiz. The same guy that Anthony Joshua, they had a mandatory to fight Luis Ortiz. Instead, they signed Luis Ortiz and they diverted him by giving him Dave Allen and Malik Scott, Matchroom. Remember that? Luis Ortiz, who Dillian White has not fought, whom Anthony Joshua's not fought. Luis Ortiz. Okay? Case closed. Fury being inactive, so I can't really say at the sum Wilder never looked that great in fights. What? Mate, good night. Good night, everybody. Have a great night and enjoy life and try so ever so hard to think for yourselves. Have a mind of your own. Do research. And remember, for you to know where you're going, you've got to know what the past is. You've got to know, if you're talking about boxing, know the history of the sport. Understand the history of the sport. Not by hearsay, but what has happened in the sport. Is it possible that cheating can happen in the sport of boxing? Hell yes, it has. It's happened before. And don't talk about the commission, because the commission have been right there and those cheats have gone right past the commission and cheated. Right? So don't tell me about no commission. I don't want to hear about that. What happens if Wilder is proven right hypothetically? Well, if he's proven right, I want to see all these YouTube channels that have been slating Wilder to get shut down. That's what I'd like to see, because they can't continue, right? All these YouTube channels that are running around, Sky and all those people, all those boxers that have been slating Wilder, they need to make some apologies immediately. Yeah, they better hope and pray, because you know what? See them? All of them would be getting. And you know what? I've been saying this for a long time. It hasn't happened yet. But eventually, one of these fighters and one of these all these internet people are going to catch a case. I'm telling you. What I mean by that is one of these it's going to end up going in court. And then when it goes to court, when it goes to court, then we'll see. Because that will then change the whole dynamics of boxing. But if it's the case, it'll be a bombshell in boxing, and people will have to think again. This is boxing. It's not scripted at elite level. Anything can happen. What? Oh dear. Boxing's not scripted. Okay, mate. If you say so. Well, anyway, have a great night. I hope you've enjoyed the show. It's my personal opinion. It's my thoughts. All I want, ultimately, at the end of the day, what I want is to know that our sport is safe. It is free of cheating. It is free of, and if there is a grievance, that any fighter, regardless if he's the heavyweight champion of the world, the former champion of the world, whether he's black, whether he's white, whether he's Asian, whether he's purple, green or yellow, has given the ability to have a free speech. And if it's going to go to court, it goes to court independent of the boxing world. It goes to court and hey, is this a criminal court? I don't know. Does anybody know? Is this a criminal court? Because put it this way: imagine if this is a criminal court. Because would it come under attempted murder or manslaughter? No, it could be manslaughter. It could be attempted murder. Aggravated bodily harm. Would it be any of those? Because you had the intent to cause damage. So if hypothetically, if Wilder can prove that Fury did cheat and he did intentionally, because it can't be accidental. If it's intentional, right? And hey, let's give you this to think about. I'm going to give you this to think about. I'm going to think about this for 1 second. Just for 1 second. Just for 1 second. And I am going to pull Tyson Fury out of this equation. How about somebody saying to Tyson, we'll take care of this. You don't worry. You just get yourself in shape and box. We'll take care of this. So then it might not be Tyson Fury, but it might be the people around him who are prepared to do what it takes for their guy to win. What about that? What about that? Interesting. You know what I love about this channel? I love it when people who have never ever been on this channel before come up and start coming and typing. It's really incredible. People that I've never seen in my life. Check this out. Someone is going to get sued in boxing media for these ridiculous lies. My bet is on Lance Pugmire and Steve Kim. Can't take Nelson, company man, serious. Okay, I understand that. Coach Chris. Their remediation for the contract. Interesting. Okay. People keep saying Deontay make excuses, but he could have killed him with one of them tampered gloves. Interesting. Fury will be banned soon. Can guarantee Fury wouldn't know anything about drugging. Why tell him? Interesting. Let's not forget Fury KO Wilder. The odds were like 12 to 1, etc. Fury's career is over if proven guilty. That's it. If proven guilty, his career is over. And but it's in the hands. This is mediation now. It'll be interesting to see what happens to this. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. All I've said before to close this off. Fury, people not Fury fans, they just hate Deontay. That is it. But some of that you've got to take into consideration. Some of that is from a racist agenda. So we take some of those racists and put there. So add them to the mix there, right? And haters, put them in there as well, right? And people just don't like success. So you add them to the equation. Let's see what's going on here. Respect to you and your channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Guys, he would move to UFC knowing Fury, lol. Yeah, he's talked about it. So there we go. Thank you all so much, those people who have been in. Look at this. Watch this. This is the sort of people that we have. These sort of people. Let me just give this person a couple of minutes of fame. Watch this. Couple of seconds of fame. Focus on proper news, not fantasy. So, our friend Liam Wolford. Check this. You see this? This is what you mean. This is somebody who's come from lamestream. Look, look. Deontay has to prove. Deontay has proof from 3 specialist doctors already. That's not good. That's not good. Fury will be banned from all sports, tarnished for life. Great show, bro. Thank you very much. Listen, the question is this. When the chips are down, and when all is said and done, in the darkest hour, what was the character of your channel? In the darkest hour, not when the bright lights are on and everything's going great and everyone can see you, when the darkest hour and you have to stand up for truth, what was your channel doing? What was the integrity of your channel? What was the integrity of your media outlet? And in moments like this, you must stand for truth and balance. And that's all I'm doing, standing for truth and balance, right? That's what it's about. You understand? Because I would want that for me. I would want a fair trial, and I would want fair judges, and I would want fair mediation and fair play. That's what I'd want. So I would want that for another man, regardless if it's Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Lomachenko, Ghana Golovkin, whatever. I'm not into all that black and white thing. You understand? But I'm very realistic to see there's racism in boxing and favoritism in boxing. That's what it is. So that's it. I know ultimately I didn't set this channel up to go with sensationalism. Integrity is what I've tried or pushed for and will continue to push for. You understand? That's what it's about. So you might say, oh, Sky Sports is bigger or BBC is bigger. But all right, they might be bigger. But when it comes to integrity, they haven't got a patch on us. And that's what it's about, integrity. You understand? Balance, fairness. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not interested in being in competition with lamestream media. Oh dear. Nelson. Oh yeah, but enough is enough. You know these people are biased, you know what they're about. My advice to you all is if you keep seeing these people, cut them out of your life. If you see these people are constantly lying and talking rubbish, cut them out of your life. Cut this rubbish out of your life and try and watch people who've got a little bit more integrity. Watch people who are happy, who will speak truth, regardless of what the trolls may think. You understand? I don't want Fury banned, but I just want justice for the innocent, whoever it is. Amen. That is a brilliant closing. That's a brilliant closing statement. I don't want Fury banned, but I want justice for the innocent, whoever it is. That's cool. I don't want to see any fighter get banned. But if there is even a hint that there was malpractice, that there was the intent to damage or knowingly to cause damage, that's it. If there is I had to unsubscribe. Pure pro Fury propaganda. Yeah. This channel is wonderful. Thank you very much. If there is 3 specialist doctors that are saying something's gone wrong, and 3 specialist doctors, 3. Hey, listen. If I'm a betting man, and there's 3 specialist doctors, I'd like to know on what grounds has this mediation been brought in? On what grounds? If the contract's expired, there shouldn't be any mediation. I don't know that for sure, but if it's the case, it's the case. Listen, I don't. That's whatever they do in that universe. I don't care. This is BWTM online. This is our universe. We don't care. As they say in Trinidad, we run things. Things not run